They go talking about these little levels of progress that we see here and there, and they say, you know, you've made great progress. Aren't you satisfied? No, we are not satisfied.
The only way people can grapple with their prejudices is to admit that they have them. And so often people don't realize they have them. And so often people don't realize or honestly acknowledge that there is a problem.
I was born in Atlanta and went to school in Atlanta through college, and then I went to theological seminary and graduate school in the North.
Mrs. King, of course, lives in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. And she's from Alabama originally, but...
All along I have supported my husband. Whatever happens to him, it happens to me.
And children?
Yes, we have 4 children.
What would their ages be, Doctor?
11, 9, 6, and 4. We have 2 girls and 2 boys.
Today, my dad is revered, but in 1968, he was deeply unpopular. 2/3 of Americans disapproved of him.
Oh, I've been hit so many times, I'm immune to it.
I traveled with him as a kid throughout Georgia in preparation for the Poor People's Campaign. The idea was to rally people to Washington to press the federal government to provide jobs and income for the poor. This was his other dream, but he did not live to see it come to fruition.
Will lead waves of the nation's poor and disinherited to Washington, D.C. next spring to demand redress of their grievances by the United States government. We will go there, we will demand to be heard, and we will stay until America responds. Power for poor people will really mean having the ability, the togetherness, the assertiveness, and the aggressiveness to make the power structure of this nation say yes when they may be desirous of saying no. Black people, Mexican Americans, American Indians, Puerto Ricans, Appalachian whites, all working together to solve the problem of poverty.
I think if my father saw the issues of poverty and income equality that exist today, he would be greatly disappointed.
It is a crime for people to live in this rich nation and receive starvation wages.
If we really want to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day and the principles that my father stood for, our whole government needs to step up.
There's nothing new about poverty. What is new is that we now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty. The real question is whether we have the will.
A very emotional and volatile environment. It was important for us to come off as reasonable. We just wanted America to be what America said it was supposed to be.
Mom used to say something like, because his voice is silenced, now he's loved. We sort of dumbed down Dad to some degree. He was a doer, not just a dreamer. He talked about what could become, but he left us a blueprint for how that could be manifested.
Leading the march, the Reverend Martin Luther King.
Dad was really radical and revolutionary, and America doesn't understand that yet.
This is Highway number 80, Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. You can fly it in a matter of minutes. You can drive it in less than an hour. Or you can walk it in 5 days, which is what this is all about.
We knew that the FBI was following closely. Almost everywhere we went, we identified the agents.
We've lived with slavery and segregation 345 years. We waited a long time for freedom. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to make justice a reality.
You look at the greater good in terms of the sacrifice, because if he had lived, he may not have been, I'm certain he would not have been as effective. Because he gave his life, he was martyred, and then you remember all of the positive things he left behind. Okay. It's hard to forget the images, and sometimes I have to catch myself because I get emotional. Martin and I were watching television, and even to this day, when I see a breaking news flash, I have PTSD, and so even though it's been 50 years, it doesn't seem like it. For me, it seems like it was yesterday.
What I do vividly remember is the day of the funeral. So I'm sitting right on the corner here at Ebenezer. I'm in my mother's lap. And so Mom said he couldn't speak to me, but a child kind of knows the dad's voice.
Every now and then I think about my own death, and I think about my own funeral.
And if you look at the film, I'm looking around like, where is he? So I remember that to this day.
If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
Good evening. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, 39 years old and a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and the leader of the nonviolent civil rights movement in the United States, was assassinated in Memphis tonight. A sniper's bullet cut down Dr. King as he stood on a hotel balcony in Memphis.
A special bulletin flashed on the television that Dr. King had been shot. And I just stood there, you know, a long time. And then a little while later, they said Dr. King was dead. And I was angry. And there's a whole lot of other people were angry.
We are very upset today because we lost in our generation somebody like a father. In our lifetimes, people 25 and 26, he's the first major man we ever saw who started a bus ride and everything like that. And today, many people are out here on the street wondering which way they're going to turn because we don't know where we're going to go. Do we go to the right? Do we go to the left? We're not sure today.
And it is necessary in the nonviolent movement to bring the issue to the surface so that people are forced to deal with it and to deal with their conscience on the issue.
Leaders who are more concerned about being invited to the White House than invited to the cause of justice would be against it.